Hi, my name is Chris McAllister. Welcome to the SightShift podcast. If you've ever found yourself in that tense place of leadership where big goals collide with deep conviction, there's an old word for that. It's called wilderness. And when you're in the wilderness, in the uncertainty, you're in a beautiful place because that's where you can find ancient wisdom. For ambitious, faith-driven leaders, I want you to know there's a way forward and you're not a bad leader to be where you are. We're going to help you in this podcast take all of those moments and use them to make culture your edge in your team, in your organization, in your family.
Well, hey, everybody, welcome back into the SightShift podcast. So good, as always, to have you along for another episode. He's Chris. I'm Mark. We're back for another episode. It'll be the last episode in our Make Culture Your Edge series. Grab yourself a copy of the book if you haven't already. And I just asked you, I don't know how you do this. I can't operate this way. I just asked Chris coming into the episode if he wanted to be surprised or if he wanted to kind of walk through what we're talking about. And I should have known. He says, surprise me, Mark. It's more fun. I don't know how you do that.
I think to be fair, I'm always thinking about this stuff. As Mark knows,
Fair.
We're informing people maybe that are listening. At the dinner table last night, one of my daughters who's moved out was home, and something came up, and I was like, yeah, well, it's an insecurity of proving or hiding. And she's like, taking it back to the SightShift language.
Of course.
So, yeah, there's a neuroticism that is contained in a mission.
That is true. As my daughter likes to say, indeed, 'tis true, can
true.
confirm.
Yes.
Okay, so here we are at the end of the Make Culture Your Edge series. As I said, we've been through the book. We've been hitting the content of the book as we go, but not staying just in the book's lane, which is the fun of this medium and the richness of the conversation. Mm-hmm. I want to do something a little different today as we wrap up this series. Now, if you've been watching along with us, that we've talked about the three cultural elements. We've talked about the three key tension points that are like the dark side, the light side versus dark side of the culture elements. And then, of course, the 9 risk factors. Today, I want to do something a little bit different. And it's a little bit like building on the conversation that you and Brett had a few episodes back in the anatomy of a breakthrough.
Which got more downloads than some of ours have.
Oh.
What the heck?
Does that mean I'm out?
No.
Need to put Brett in?
No, it means we've got to gamify this and win.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so we're gonna build on some of that and maybe be a little more specific versus the metaphorical reference, the movie reference, which was fun. And I'm gonna have you walk us through the impact script in a light touch way, but really deconstructing. If the conversation that you had with Brett on the anatomy of a breakthrough using sports movies as metaphors, if that's what that was, then this one is really going to be more like an anatomy class where we're going to name the organs that we need to take a look at in order to have a breakthrough. So let me set the
Killer idea.
Let me set the scene.
Love this.
Let me set the scene for a second, right?
Part of me is like, how have I not ever thought to do this on a social media video or something? So anyway, brilliant.
Super.
Let's do it.
Thank you. Appreciate the love. And maybe I'm still good for this to stay in the seat a little bit longer. Okay, so when we talk about...
Oh, will you hold your thought?
Oh, totally, yeah.
Because the next series we're doing after this, the conversation we just had before this is going to be a perfect way to yin-yang. So all that to say, the seed is needed more than ever.
Strategic tease.
Yes, yeah.
This episode brought to you by the next one. So as we think about engaging with teams, but even beyond that, seeing what's happening in cultures, whether it's at the home culture, business culture, not-for-profit culture, whatever, what we find, this to be true, what we find is that there are 3 moments that invite the breakthrough to happen. it's the crisis moment, it's the change moment, and it's the celebration moment. So let's walk back through a few of the things that have come into this podcast and also in the SightShift space on the YouTube lives that you ran a little bit ago. We were talking about a change in the context of an Amazon Prime show, jury duty, company retreat. They were going through change.
Yeah.
They needed to experience a cultural breakthrough.
Yeah.
Now, we don't have to go hard down that path. Go look up the YouTube lives. Chris talks about it, breaks it all down. It's fun. Change moment. In this context, we've talked about a crisis moment around the Council of Elrond as the peoples of Middle Earth are trying to figure out what to do with this new threat that has risen in the east and the ring of power that has been found. They're in a crisis moment. They need to figure out what to do. Now I'm going to have a little fun. A few weeks back, the March Madness winner, NCAA basketball, was my team, Go Blue, Michigan Wolverines. They just caught their confetti. They had their catching confetti moment and won the celebration. And guess what? The team is changing. Just today, I was reading an article about these 4 that are moving on to the NBA. These 2 have committed to stay with the team. Here's the incoming class of freshmen. They're in a moment of celebrating, but then they have to figure out again who they are after celebration so that they can go after it. Okay, so relevant, broader SightShift, broader cultural, specific conversations that we've had here, setting the stage for, are you in a moment of crisis, in a moment of change, or in a moment of celebration where there's an opportunity to experience a breakthrough? Anything that you would add to that as kind of the scene setting before we start to take a step through the impact script?
No, but only because you have your pen, we should at the end reference the 2 things, catching confetti and YouTube Live, just to give them awareness on what those are. Because I think, we're here, we're showing up, you show up, we're so grateful you listen or watch on YouTube, and what a way to keep people informed about the other ways we can be helpful to them.
Yep.
But, contextually, I guess I would say yes, in the sense that, I think the crisis makes sense. It's like, oh, we weren't expecting this. Boom, it's here. The celebration makes sense. Not to confuse people with the model, but the change piece is really related to succession or transition. There's some kind of big transition happening, or basic section, which is, of course, is company retreat. And so, yeah, if that helps people kind of color it in.
That's great. Thank you. Okay, so here, I'm gonna show you a couple of pieces of paper here that really represent the script, the work done that leads to then really being on one page.
Booyah.
Like, it's all here on one page. And I think one of our first YouTube lives a while back, you actually showed this very thing.
That's right. I did do that.
Right? Yeah. So this is the same document that you would have seen there if you saw that. But today, not in detail, because obviously we don't have enough time and we don't have the live interaction that we would when we're taking a client through this. But I want to step through each of the 9 stops along this script as a way to put a bow on this whole make culture your edge process.
Awesome.
So let's start with the first one.
Okay.
And I should say these kind of they do specifically and intentionally nest into the 3 categories, the 3 elements of our culture model. So we'll start with the 3 that sit up under communication. Take us through the progression of how to get to that right communication that sets up a breakthrough.
I love it. So I could add a specificity to it. Let's do the University of Michigan basketball team.
Super.
All right. Because we could do it in a crisis moment. We could do it in a transition succession moment. We could do it in a celebration moment. We'll do a celebration moment.
Yeah.
Because we talk a lot about like when you're in a place of moving from good to great, or when you're turning something around. But this will be in a frame of sustaining greatness. So in sustaining greatness, if you're walking through the first part of this impact script, culture impact script, the weird paradoxical piece, I think, for a team that's in great celebration, like you're hitting your numbers, it's going well, you know it can always be better. You're looking at the first part of this and going, right now, though, what's the pain that we need to be honest about facing? And this is the piece that, like, naturally a lot of leaders that are wired up to be visionary or entrepreneurial or take people to some kind of great heights, they don't always appreciate how important it is. Before you're trying to take people to this solution, you have to help them feel the weight of the pain. So if I'm the Michigan head coach, and again, I know jack squat from a direct application level, so I'll hack my way through this, and all the true sports aficionados can be like, Chris is an idiot.
Exposed.
Yeah. But you know, I'm the head coach. I'm saying to them, okay, we just won. We've celebrated. Here's the pain. Everybody's coming after us next year.
Yeah,
We now have a target on our back.
that's right.
There are locker rooms across the country that are putting us up on the wall. They're probably putting some other teams up on the wall too. And they're going to learn us and study us more than most other teams. So all the things that we did that were surprises, the things that we did different with defense or offense, all the things that we did that were flawless execution of fundamentals now are exposed for everyone to see.
Yep.
Like if you skip over that pain moment, you're skipping over what has to happen for them to be drawn into wanting to hear the fullness of this vision. So I'll just run through these. Any thoughts or questions on that?
Yeah, no, keep going. It's good.
So after that, I'm going to take them into, okay, what happens for us if we take that pain, that knowledge, into our awareness? How do we cultivate a sense of meaning, of drive, of firing off our dopamine and our endorphins so that we can pay the price to sustain this greatness? And so if we're going to sustain and build on this greatness, we need to know what's the payoff for us. So at that point, I'm going to look at the communal and the individual payoff. At the communal level, organizational, hey, what's it look like for us to win again next year? What's that do for our recruiting class? What's that do for the depth of our bench? What's that do for us as a team, the talent acquisition we have? Because now we start building a dynasty or a legacy. Mm-hmm. And once you start getting into this place of building a dynasty or a legacy, you know, the compounding returns are completely different. The energy that the coaching staff has to put into recruiting to get 5 steps is like 10 steps. Believe in us. We can do this. This is possible. This year, they're going to be able to put energy to get 5 steps. They're going to only have to do 3 steps, but they're going to get 5 steps because they've got the street level credibility of having won the championship. Mm-hmm. And you also got to look at it at the individual level. Mm-hmm. So all of you now are going to get hit up to go into 17 different places on the portal. And you're going to have this feeling that the world is your oyster. Now's the time to cash in on this. And you're going to be able to be a superstar individual contributor at another team. But if you break up what we've built here of how 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, but 1 + 1 equals a championship. If you break that up, are you going to be able to answer this question at the end of your run in college basketball? I learned how to contribute at the highest level individually and how to multiply my impact through a team. You know, because that's the thing. I mean, I'm about to throw something out there that's so opinionated. I'm going to lose half the audience and have half the audience care more. Would you rather be LeBron or Jordan with the championships? You know, I don't know enough to be able to use that as the Michigan head coach. I'm not saying I would. I don't even know his name, right? So clearly my knowledge ends at some level. But that's the idea. Like, you want to capture a vision that is going to draw them into what's the payoff we get individually and as a team. Make sense?
It does make sense. The one point that I'll expand on with with the individual is it also, especially at the collegiate level, it sets you up for your individual goals to be able to launch into the NBA with a career.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And any solid NBA scout is not just evaluating a player on can they be an individual contributor. They're looking at team dynamics.
Yep.
Is this going to be a prima donna coming in here,
Yep.
wrecking our culture, hurting what we do, making us build around them? And so this is your chance. So I love that you drew that out.
Yeah.
You are setting up your future. From there, the third piece that's really huge is, which ties into the prima donna idea deeply, how do we capture the vision of this in a real to life experience metaphorically that asks the best of us? And so what we found over and over with teams we work with, leading ourselves through this, is there has to be this picture, because the brain is most activated by a picture, a metaphor, that captures everyone's imagination fully. Because if you do this right, if you do this correctly, the right brain gets fully captured, the left brain gets captured, and they work in a partnership. Mm-hmm. Because you're going to need that right and left brain coming together for what's going to happen in the next piece. And you need this imaginative capture. Because if your players are more imaginatively captured by how much money they can get right now and do it for the gram, and they start building out this very expensive lifestyle, and they have 5 OnlyFans accounts that they spend too much money on, whatever, all these things, you now are having something rot your team from within. Something is going to capture their imagination.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the money, and it's going to be all the stuff that comes with the fame, or it's going to be what's out there as this next horizon.
Yeah.
So I'm not just going to come to the team and say, this is what the slogan is, without thinking through, how do I anchor that metaphorically? And if I don't have something that I'm absolutely convinced is going to capture their imagination better than all the allure of wealth and fame, then I'm gonna street level test that with a few of my top players, with some of my coaching staff. I might even do it in an open session. This is what we do when we walk organizations through it, to draw out what's the thing, right? And at this point, I could riff in 17 different directions. Taking the next mountain, right? That's kind of cheesy. That's kind of lame. It's not colored out enough. But you never know. If you were in a setting that was topographically influenced by a landscape of mountains, maybe one of the players recently climbed a 14K-er and posted about, whatever. There could be some...
Yeah, it could be something there.
There could be something there, but that's the idea. It has to capture our imagination.
Yeah, it's great. Okay, so face the pain, make meaning... make a metaphor, discern the metaphor, capture the imagination.
Yeah.
With those 3 in place, communication kind of gets locked in, naturally leads to the next set that bucket up under change. So let's do the same thing. Take us through the change components.
So the vision requires change. The vision necessitates change. The vision creates this world of, well, we don't yet possess that. That's what it has to do, or they're not activated. And you and I know this, the phrase, rest on your laurels. If you rest on the laurels of last year, you're dead. So in the way that we're building this sports analogy. So the first thing that you've got to do on the change piece is take them to the problem. What got us here doesn't get us there again next year. And again, I like to hear the head coach of Indiana football, he always says those 3 things over and over and over and over and over again. So you may have fundamentals for your team, right? But there's a unique way the problem is showing up. So we just won the championship. What got us here doesn't get us there. How are we talking about that problem? Now, if you're very aware of whatever the domain you're bringing leadership into, and I don't have enough domain knowledge around basketball to hack my way through this effectively, then I am going to articulate it in a way that this is aggressive, but I do mean it this way. I want to emotionally put their face in the problem as much as I can. So I'm painting out with as much clarity as possible. If we don't address this, if we don't see this problem, if we don't square up with this problem, we are going to let something fester that's going to rot us from within, and we are not going to be able to contend again for this championship next year, which could be any number of things. You would know these better than I do. I think you could probably riff on it better than I could. But that's what we've got to do. We've got to take them to the problem. Our unique plays are exposed. The fundamentals of our defense are exposed. You're going to have more money thrown at these players. The portal transitions, some of these things I've already hinted at.
Yeah.
And if we're not squaring up with that, we're going to be caught off guard.
Yeah. We've got new players coming in.
Yep.
They didn't experience the championship.
Glad you brought that out.
They've got to be inculcated into how we do things. And oh, by the way, those players that are coming back, what got us there last year it's not going to be enough to get us there again. So I'm thinking of like the changing personnel and the effort required, the pulling people in and developing the next level of bench, right? Like all of that on the team.
Perfect. And what's crazy is, and this is what makes this so prescient. I at one point had 3 girls in Ohio State at the same time, so I couldn't help but care a little bit. One will graduate in May, and then I'll have one left. But last year they had more superstar talent than they did the year before. The year before they won the championship.
On the football team.
Yeah, on the football team. Yeah. This year they didn't. And it speaks perfectly to this idea of we attained the apex, the pinnacle, the mountaintop. We did it. We did not transfer that knowledge.
Yeah.
We did not transfer that behavior. We did not transfer that mindset to do it again. And it's, nobody wants to Monday morning quarterback things to death. If you're in the arena moving your own mission forward, you're not as harsh with other people moving a mission forward.
For sure.
But it wasn't hard to just go, oh, they were individually shining. They weren't collectively going at this together.
Yep.
So there was something about the problem of that they didn't all really grasp.
Yep, got it.
And because they didn't grasp that problem, they couldn't move to the next piece, which is how we innovatively, creatively solve that problem. And when you hear the term innovation and creativity, a lot of people think like it's got to be this completely wild-haired creativity. I don't know anything about wild hairs, but it's got to be this completely out of nowhere wild way to form a play that's never been formed before. And that's not it. It's creativity and innovation for us. Mm-hmm. So Ohio State needed to develop a way to talk about, we've hit the pinnacle, this is a problem. How do we creatively solve this? So for the Michigan basketball team, success brings its own problems. We've hit the pinnacle, we've hit the apex. How do we creatively address what is the key problem? And this is where discernment's huge. Like discernment's massive for this change piece, because the coaching staff and the head coach, basketball team, football team, whatever, has to be able to say, we face all these threats now. What's the one that is going to take us out the most? What is the key problem? That key problem requires your best thinking. We went through this as a team in December, and we isolated out a key problem. And in our most recent quarterly team time in March or April, we said, okay, that's the key problem we identified 3 months ago. What are we doing about that key problem?
Yep.
And we applied some thinking to it. And what showed up wasn't like wildly creative or innovative to our industry, but it was for us a real breakthrough about how we segment where we talk to the people we reach.
Yep.
So what you're wanting is to know, I've got the key problem, I've got the lever that matters the most, and this is how we address it. And what happens for a lot of organizations when they're trying to come up with this is they get stuck in this either-or thinking. And so what's going to happen for you is you're going to feel like you're torn between this or that. And when you're not torn between this or that, you're trying to find the creative both and tension. Not a watered-down solution, but something that brings both together. Before I go to the last one, the third piece of the change. Okay.
No, keep going.
Third piece then is, who do we become if we live out this creativity? Who do we become if we live out this innovation? So for us as a team, our moment, it's a greater discipline in the execution of our messaging. right? That inspired me to become something that I want to get better at. And so I developed a system to keep messaging in front of me in a way that I'm constantly reminded, so I'm locked in and on point. Because on any given podcast I'm on, any given speaking opportunity, I have new things I thought that morning that are exciting to me, right? But it doesn't mean I need to bring those into that moment. And so for the basketball team example, when they really figure out the key problem, what their innovation or creativity is, then the anchoring of the change is, we're not going to feel overwhelmed by anxiety by what is hard for us to think about growing into. We're going to have a vision of who we can become in this. And to be in the Ohio State team setting, to be able to articulate your main problem is so clear. You have these individual contributors. You're not yet really tightly unified as a superstar team. Here's the creative way that you can tackle that. And here's the vision of who you become in that, right? If you can have that through line, then you've painted a picture of the transformation that happens in the change. The vision should capture the imagination of a change that has to occur, that addresses the problem in the organization, that captures the greater becoming.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
The only thing I'll add to that is in the becoming, in the I've never been here before, in the I haven't done it this way, or I haven't experimented in that way before, there's a willingness to make a mistake.
Yeah,
a willingness to get it wrong, to take a, we talk about it in the form of bike wrecks versus,
break it down.
Right.
I mean, we've said it before, but they could hear it again.
Yeah. So being willing to experience a bike wreck, which is some bruised knees, some scraped elbows, you set the bike back up and you go again. In contrast to a car wreck. Car wreck is more serious. Car wreck is something we guard against. It's a violation of who we are and our values and in our character, and drifting off mission to pursue some individual idea, even with good intent.
Yep.
It's an individual idea that drifts off mission. Those will be categorized as car wrecks. But in this situation, trying something new, getting past the either or thinking and moving into an experiment, a new way of doing things are going to break. Things are going to go wrong, so to speak. And it's a willingness to acknowledge, one, it's going to happen. Two, we're going to learn from it. And that rolls into the who we are becoming along the way.
Bingo.
I don't like this statement. I believe it's true more today than I did yesterday. I don't like this statement because failure is hard for me, but fail our way into succeeding.
Yeah. There's no other way to do it. It is a car wreck if a player gets a DUI.
Yeah.
It's a car wreck if a player skips practice and goes to the strip club.
Yeah.
These are easy examples to use, but it's a bike wreck that we executed that play poorly. It's even a bike wreck we lost that game. What do we learn from that loss?
Yeah. Yep.
And if we lost the game because a player got super selfish, that can be a bike wreck, car wreck kind of mixed, because no metaphor is perfect. But the idea here is, and I'm so glad you brought it up, it's not like we've become something new. Mm-hmm. We fail our way into it. I've never made, because really the change level piece is about upgrading the systems for how you run your team and the structure for how you run your team, football or basketball. I've never been through systemic upgrade without failure.
We talked about that just this morning.
Bingo.
We've talked about all of this in one way or another just this morning. Yeah, between you and I.
Perfectly stated.
Yeah.
Perfectly stated. So we've got to go through this because that's the invitation. Like, if you can really capture this vision, the vision isn't to just win the championship again next year for Michigan. It's who the program, who the coaching staff, who the players, who they all become in the pursuit of it.
Yep. Right on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Results will be there.
Yeah.
Becoming is there.
So just a quick recap. It is acknowledging the root cause, the issue. We use the word problem, but it's like the thing that we need to solve, and then finding that innovative, creative solution to go after it, and then being willing to risk the wreck.
That's what we do
along the way of becoming. So that's the change piece. Now take us to the connect piece.
And I think this is the thing that is so sad to me, that a lot of visionary coaches, visionary leaders don't really grasp. Because a lot of people that are wired up to lead, they understand the idea of there has to be a horizon we're taking people towards. But like, you start to get this at the end of the change piece and deeply in the connection piece. The vision is the people. Like, if you are a head coach and you lead programs, that the vision is player transformation and development, teaching them how to be individual contributors to the highest level and play team, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Same way with organizational leadership. If you really grasp, the vision is the people, the transformation. It's not just how fast we can adopt AI, whatever. That is golden. And the proof of that is this. You know, the oldest way to think about building culture is that there is a vision that leads to change, and the point of it all is a deeper connection. I mean, for services-based industries, for goods-based industries, if you have a deeper connection to the team and then the client or the customer, you're winning. That's the point. So we have a vision, it leads to change, and then we're connected deeper. Now, how do you know you're connected deeper? Like, that's the thing. And people want to say the greatest of these is love. And I do believe wholeheartedly the world needs more leaders who lead from a secure identity for impact, not validation. Because insecure leaders are ruining the world. They're leading it insecurely with a vision that's broken, with change that isn't implemented well for who people become. And the net result is what? Fragmentation.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole world needs like a ton of people to be peacemakers, not peacekeepers. But we really go through this process well when we shift into the connection piece. And how you know connection is working well, how you know you're connecting deeply. You're looking for three pieces. It starts with, what are the real needs? So here's what happens. You have this vision to win the championship again. You determine who we become, the innovation we make, the mistakes we can make to get to that. That is naturally and necessarily going to surface up real needs.
Yep.
Now, there are always more needs than you can meet. There's more needs on your team. There's more needs in your family. There's more needs in your marriage. There's more needs to take the team to the championship again. But what are the needs that are the most important? And very often, they're not going to be the things demanded.
I just need more touches.
Yeah, exactly.
I need more touches so that I can get more shots and score more points.
Yeah. If you said as a coach, hey, guys, tell me what you need, and I just want to take care of you and get you that, 90% of what you're going to get, and I do not say that number lightly and just pulling it out of the air. This tends to be the case. 90% of the things that are requested are the things that are coming out of their own insecurities. It's like a child that bangs on the table and demands cookies for dinner. They're not yet to the point as leaders that they can really see what's the demanded need versus the real want. And so what you want to be really adept at is reading the moment to be like, okay, they want cookies for dinner. I can't do that. I can say we're going to have a nutritious dinner and then we can have dessert. That's the necessary function of leadership. Like, after you've delivered the transformation, the clear articulation of that in the vision, who we become, you now have to shift into a mode of going, what do I need to resource them with so that they can go on this journey? And you can't just respond to what is yelled for the most. Because oftentimes the people that have the most insight for you around what's needed don't know how to ask for their own needs, right? And they're going to be quiet and think, if I speak up, I'm being selfish. And you got to draw that out of people. And so you may start to figure out, there's a million dumb examples I could come up with this. You may start to figure out there are things that are needed that you would have never occurred to you because it's not something you need.
Yeah.
And so this is what's so powerful. Because of the vision, because of the change required, what do you need? Well, once we start doing that, what's really powerful is now you start to get in the emotion of this. And so once I start drawing out from you what you need, you might have feelings in the room people are excited about going for the championship again, or nervous about it, or nerve-sighted, or overwhelmed, or my mom is going to lose her house, and if I don't make it to the NBA next year, you see what I mean? I mean, there's like real stakes at this. The coach is going to get fired, right? You won the championship last year, but it doesn't do you any good this year. And organizations are brutal also. I mean, we work a lot with business owners who own their own business, and they can coast. But a lot of the companies we work with, when they're publicly traded value in the stock market,
one quarter at a time,
they out. So there's the emotion piece that's huge. And this is what I would want to say here. It is as simple as you asking this. In relationship to who I'm asking you to become to support this vision and the need that I want to resource and support you with, where are you at right now with this? I want to know how you feel about it. Mm-hmm. Now, if you know anything about what we do at SightShift or Championship with the athletic focus, this isn't about like a therapeutic kumbaya moment where we're just trying to get this need comforted. This need, translating to emotion, is the fuel, it's the energy, it's the signal that they've got to harness in on to pay the price to get where we want to go.
Yep.
Because for the championship basketball team, for you to go a little bit further in practice at sacrificing your insecurities and being a better team player, it's going to require some emotion. You'll never get as far as you want to go without harnessing the power of your emotion. So you have to start drawing out the emotions, and you have to know, how do people feel in regards to this? Mm-hmm. And so I want to know. And if it's to use the basketball team analogy, that's small enough. How do you feel about this? How do you feel about this? How do you feel about this? Don't tell me what I want to hear. Is that really how you feel? How do you feel about this? And then I'm looking for a composite word that's going to reflect the team's emotion. And then from there, I'm going to take it into the last piece. And this is where we anchor in and seal up the whole process. This is the vulnerable expression. Now, I love where we're at with it now, where we say, hey, what's the last thing that hasn't been said yet?
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be a little bit of a truth-telling moment that maybe is reflected for the whole organization, but it needs to be anchored in and worded as where you feel vulnerable. Okay, I'm willing to be that team player, and I'm willing to say no to the 17 requests I'm having and getting into the portal. But what if y'all let me down and don't give your best? Because I'll give my best, right? That's a vulnerable expression.
Right on.
We have to have that. That's how you run through the tape on this experience, so that you collectively have a breakthrough. This is the anatomy of a breakthrough. So you collectively have this breakthrough, and you anchor in on this. You say, well, Chris, how long will it last us? Until it doesn't capture your imagination anymore.
Yeah.
That's the culture impact script.
That's good. That's good. So the work that we get to do, enjoy doing, is to walk people through that, and then on a one page, whether it's a literal or digital, on one page, the metaphor, the organizing, the inspiring metaphor becomes clear. The change that's needed in the process of becoming becomes clear, and connections are deepened. You used the word love. I followed Michigan basketball throughout the year. I don't normally follow college basketball, but they were doing some wild stuff at the beginning of the year that caught my attention, followed them through the year. The amount of times I heard the players and the coaches talk about loving each other was crazy. And when you hear that, you recognize there is something special happening. Now, it's not inevitable that they win the national title just because they've got a deepened connection, but it's probably pretty unusual to run through the tape like that and not have a deep, abiding connection, love for your mates that were in it with you. So,
dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Yeah.
So you can hear it in the words they use.
That's right.
And you think about, like, they spend so much time together and practice in the locker room and the games. Why wouldn't you want to be made better through your time with these people? Why wouldn't you want to have, out of the secure new identity your team is achieving in this vision, the deeper becoming and then the deeper connection. Why wouldn't you want to have those deepest shared bonds of community that come out of a shared mission, that come out of that new identity? That's the best.
Yeah.
It's the best. It's what can make marriage great and parenting great and leading an organization great. And it's also what makes it so hard, because the enemy in between where you are and that best is your and everyone else's insecurities that are working against that shared expression.
It's those insecurities expressed in leadership and people that ruin the world.
That's it.
So there is the Make Culture Your Edge series of episodes, podcasts, the book, the little extra today, what we call the impact script. I'll tie a couple of things together. We mentioned catching confetti early on. Chris mentioned Champion Shift. You can go to championshift.com or catchingconfetti.com, or heck, just go to sightshift.com and find it as one of the options. It's the way that we engage professional and collegiate elite level athletics with this same content that you're hearing here. It's our sports brand, if you will. Also mentioned the YouTube Lives, started earlier this year, having fun with those every Wednesday at noon Eastern. Chris is on YouTube Live with some topic. And we've looked at the impact script. We've looked at the jury duty company retreat. Not sure what else is lined up and what has dropped between this episode and when the last YouTube series, or when the company retreat series finished. But on Wednesdays, Chris is hanging out on YouTube Live. You can find us on our YouTube channel at Chris McAllister. SightShift is where you can find us there. And then, of course, if you want to go deeper into the culture-specific stuff we've been talking about, we got a page for that too. Woo. CultureImpactScript.com is where you can double-click on what breakthrough you might need and what might be beneficial for you. Set up a chat with Chris, and would love to have that conversation. Any last thoughts before we land the plane on the Culture episode series?
Don't suffer in silence. It can be better than you imagine. And if you're at a place that as a leader you want to say, I want to see how good this could get, we're here.
Well, thanks for rolling with us through this series. We'll be back soon with more and different. We'll see you back then.
Thanks so much for being with us on the SightShift podcast. I hope in some way we've encouraged you to face, lean into, and become aware of the moments that represent so much transformation possibility. If you want more, you can always go to SightShift, SIGHT, shift.com, and learn to make culture your edge.